What is up, Packer fans? Welcome back to another episode of BAM GPG. So we are back after really a devastating loss to the Denver Broncos. Just one of those games, Bryson. It's a tough loss on the scoreboard, but also on the injury front as well. And personally, I just feel defeated after this one, right? Watching guys go down one after another with brutal injuries, you know, we're going to it's going to be a trying remainder of the season for the Green Bay Packers. We're going to break this down for you here piece by piece. We're going to talk about, what it means for this Packers team and who's going to have to step up going down the stretch for the Green Bay Packers, and kind of how the NFL's grind takes a toll on the players' bodies week after week in the NFL here.
Well, yeah, and Dontavian Wicks, please do not go back to your old ways.
Yeah, he did. Had a really costed the Packers there too, right? I mean, that's a ball he needs to come down with, and it turned into a second interception for Jordan Love this game. But wanted to start with the first injury of the night here, Bryson. First major impact for the Green Bay Packers. Christian Watson went down again. What was being called the chest injury. You saw some of the kind of camera angles. When they were showing it after the play, right, it seemed like he was almost grabbing where the collarbone area would be. But that's all speculation. There's no definitive answer on what the injury is or what the timeline is for Christian Watson right now. Again, he exited with that chest/shoulder injury. He fell hard on that deep pass attempt from Jordan Love in the second half there. And reports after the game was he was taken to the local hospital for evaluation and is now traveling home with the team this evening. And we also seen a post from his dad online indicating that Christian Watson is going to be okay and is returning to Green Bay with the team. Something we'll share out here on this episode as well, but a little bit of promising news, especially coming from a family member source. So hopefully things aren't that serious with Christian Watson. You think back to Green Bay's offense prior to Christian Watson getting back in there, and it wasn't pretty the first half of the season, right?
Yeah.
We questioned a lot of things about this Green Bay Packers offense, and since Christian Watson has been back, this Packers offense has really taken off. And then you add Jaden Reed into the mix as well. This Packers offense, it's looked great over the last few weeks, right? And now you remove your deep threat and Christian Watson from it, and it's not you don't have as good of outlook for it, right, Bryson? So
Yeah.
hopefully things are okay for Watson,
Yeah.
right?
And I think Jaden Reed also got sidelined too.
Yeah, his seemed to be just kind of a nick and ding thing, nothing too serious,
Yeah,
hopefully.
but I don't think Christian Watson actually got injured. I think it was just like a stinger.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Hopefully too.
But again, Christian Watson's presence on that outside as a deep threat for the Green Bay Packers, especially fresh off returning from an ACL injury, it's been critical for this Packers offense to get, kind of give them that spark this year, right? Losing his explosive playmaking ability, it really shakes up that wide receiver core, right? The depth there, and Love's options, it alters it, right? Again, that hierarchy of receiving core, they kind of run through Watson, right? You saw it.
Yeah.
First half of the season, this offense really struggled. Once Watson got back, this offense really, seemed to go again. He's the focal point of that receiving core. If you don't think so, you know now after this season, absolutely. And then the tough one here, Bryson. They're all tough, but none as impactful as this one here. Micah Parsons, from what looks to be a possible torn ACL.
I think it is it.
Yeah, I think so too, unfortunately.
By the way, he fell.
Yeah, it was a non-contact injury. It didn't look pretty on replay. Really unfortunate, right? He's really been what made this defense go. He's really been kind of the mask for our defensive backs, right?
I mean, maybe if it was contact, maybe I would have had like a different opinion on it.
Yeah, being a non-contact, it doesn't look good, right? It's all indicators are pointing towards an ACL issue. Early reports suffered a non-contact left knee injury. Doesn't look good for the Green Bay Packers. Doesn't look good for Micah Parsons. Again, it's feared to be a torn ACL for him. Coach Matt LaFleur, kind of confirmed that he would not be able to return in the game. And we all kind of knew that as he walked off the field there. And after seeing that replay, this is huge for the Green Bay Packers, right? Losing an all pro pass rusher like Micah Parsons in the heart of a playoff push, especially changes, really does change this defensive identity and the kind of the pressure packages that Green Bay likes to present dramatically, right?
Yeah.
So it's a big one. And then you saw Zach Tom go down again this game with a knee injury. So right tackle Zach Tom, we all know he's been dealing on and off the field here with different injuries. So recently it's been the knee. Before that, it was the oblique issue. But he did exit with a knee injury, did not return to the game. Early reporting is suggesting that there's no structural damage currently suspected. So that is some positive news there. But the timeline, it's unknown, right? We won't know till earlier this week. They can get more testing done. But the impact of this, protecting Jordan Love, it's huge, right? Zach Toms is one of the best in the games at right tackle there, or excuse me, at tackle. But especially, if Love gets more pressure, it's likely to impact that offense even more, right? We saw how ugly it was against Cleveland. We saw how ugly it was earlier in the year without him.
Well, even during the game, you could see it.
Yeah, absolutely. And then we got a big division opponent coming up next weekend. So Tom's status for next week, it's going to be key for that offensive line, right? And then safety Evan Williams also went down with a knee injury. That's a tough one as well. He's been having such a great year this year. Really kind of took that next step you like to see in your second year. Evan Williams has been great. Initial reports for this one also indicate it doesn't seem to be something serious, but further tests are going to be pending earlier in the week. And the impact on this is the depth at safety and the versatility in the secondary for the Green Bay Packers. It's going to be tested if he's limited or unavailable, especially next week against the Chicago Bears on the road. So what's this mean moving forward? All these injuries here. So let's start with Christian Watson, Bryson. So the hierarchy, it shifts, right? For the wide receiver cords. Look for Romeo Dobbs, look for Dontavian Wicks, Matthew Golden, Jaden Reed, to kind of have to step up and elevate their game a little bit more, possible increased checkdowns to some of your running backs, getting Josh Jacobs more involved. I know he is a little banged up at this point in the season as well, but Jordan Love, he's going to need to find rhythm and consistency with that offensive receiving core. Especially with his top deep threat, Christian Watson, possibly out. Well, again, things look like they're going to be okay with Christian Watson. We'll know more. I would assume tomorrow morning, tomorrow afternoon, probably. And then again, the tough one, Bryson, Micah Parsons. What's the defense without Micah Parsons? Well, the pass rush truly loses their anchor, especially with Devontae Wyatt out as well. The linebacker rotation, it's going to have to change. Guys like Lucas Van Ness and others are going to need to play much bigger roles on this defensive line, which means Van Ness is going to have to kind of grit out some of these injuries. I know he's been dealing with that foot injury. He's looked great in the offseason. He is kind of the higher end first round pick for the Green Bay Packers going into year 3. He's got to step up. He's got to play like a first rounder. Can he replace Micah Parsons? No, he can't replace Micah Parsons, but he's going to have to play his best ball.
I'm pretty sure Micah Parsons will return around like week 3, week 4 of next year.
If it is an ACL injury, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, unfortunately, he's likely to miss all off season, training camp, all that stuff. But pray for the best. Pray for a quick recovery for Micah Parsons. Again, he truly is the anchor of that defense. But with him out, you're going to likely see more blitz concepts, coverage adjustments for the Green Bay Packers, and they're going to be necessary to hide that pass rush deficiencies you're going to see without Micah Parsons in there, right? And then offensive line adjustments, Bryson, if Zach Tom misses any time because of this knee injury, the offensive line shuffle, it's going to affect the protection and run lanes for Josh Jacobs, Jordan Love. So look for players like Kennard to step in, Anthony Belton, and others to really kind of step up and keep that continuity amongst the offensive line. It's going to be huge going down the stretch. And the secondary and safety depth here for the Green Bay Packers, if Evan Williams is limited, the Packers are going to have to rely more on some of the depth rotation guys, potentially a Javon Bullard or a Zane Anderson in sub packages.
And what was Keyshawn Nixon doing up there? He gave up 3 touchdowns, I'm pretty sure.
It was a rough night for Keyshawn Nixon, right? And really, it's been kind of a rough season. He's had his flash moments this year with Keyshawn Nixon, right? Where he's really looked good, but there's been moments where he's really looked bad. And what's going to be tough about this Micah Parsons injury is Parsons was, almost every play getting pressure on the quarterback, affecting that release timing, making the ball come out quicker, which really benefited that secondary. I'm hoping that doesn't kind of stick out as a sore thumb moving forward now that you're missing that key element to the defense. We didn't address the defensive backs in the offseason, and a lot of that was because we went after a guy like Micah Parsons who can better those guys in that secondary. Now we are going to be playing without him. So again, you're going to have to, Rashawn Gary's going to have to step up. He started off the season strong, but really kind of disappeared since that Pittsburgh game where I think he had 7 sacks at that point. It's just kind of disappeared since then. He's going to have to elevate his game. Lucas Van Ness is going to have to stay healthy on the field and elevate his game as well. He's going to have to be the Lucas Van Ness that we were all excited about this offseason. No doubt about that. So kind of the big picture here, Bryson, you can't talk about a night like tonight without the big conversations, right? Too. So you get emotional with injuries like this, right? So you kind of look at some of, why are they happening so frequently? Why do you see so many more injuries now than what it felt like in the past? And, some of it could be, the schedule, the lengths, the physical toll. The schedule has increased to that additional game. The NFL season, it's a long one. It's grueling for these players. Relentless weekly hits, they add up to the body over time. Even the cleanouts and recovery protocols every Tuesday through Friday, they don't fully mitigate all the wear and tear on the body, right? And you have to question, is 17 games too much? I know they're looking at expanding it even further. Plus a playoff. Is that too much for a player's health out on the field? So you have to question that. And then a roster,
I feel like we should get more bye weeks.
Maybe filter in some more bye weeks, get some more recovery time on these players. I know as fans, we want more. We want to indulge in more football, and that's great. But at what cost, right?
Like, we don't want our players to get injured.
Exactly, right? They're the reason you watch the game.
Yeah.
So another thing, Bryson, roster construction, right? And player rotation, right? Tonight's highlight, tonight you saw all the injuries. It really highlights the importance of, depth across all phases of the game, offense, defense, and special teams. Teams with stronger depth, they tend to kind of weather these injuries better, right? Could the NFL maybe explore, expanded rosters, right? Adding more rotations in for these guys to give them more of a break throughout the game, less wear and tear on the bodies, mandatory rotational rests with those, more flexible travel squad rules, things like that. Or as Bryson mentioned, more built-in bye weeks throughout the season. Let these players, have an opportunity to really get their body recharged, get their body fixed. Again, these seasons are long, they're taxing, they're tolling on the body. So maybe something like, and again, that would expand out the season. I understand that.
But like you could do like bye weeks, like let's say you go week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4, and then like all 32 teams get a bye on week 5.
Yeah, something like something to, see if you can lessen the amount of injuries. In a week like this with all the injuries, it might just open up.
Or maybe make like penalties for injuries.
Yeah. What do you mean by that?
So like if a player gets injured, then like 15 like yard penalty on the offense or defense or something like that.
Maybe, but I do like your idea of adding additional bye weeks throughout the season here to help them get their bodies right here. And again, this might be a week that opens up that discussion. Kind of the philosophy of how no matter how good the starters are, depths often decide the playoff fates for every team in the NFL, right? And you saw Patrick Mahomes go down to get today with an ACL injury. Devontae Adams with a hamstring injury. So you see a lot of injuries late in the season. You hate to see it, especially as teams are making that playoff push. So, possibly opening up the discussion from that, right? Possibly. And again, we're emotional about this. We just lost significant players to our roster. We lost Tucker Kraft earlier this year. So it's tough, Packer fans. I understand, we feel defeated, but there are 3 games left of the season, Bryson.
Yeah.
I believe. So the playoffs are still in front of us. There's still an opportunity, but we need players. They're going to have to elevate their game and step up, right? It's going to be tough, especially when you're talking about missing players like Micah Parsons, Christian Watson potentially. But again, even with these setbacks, Bryson, the Packers still have, playoff hopes this year, right?
And maybe even division winners.
Yeah, absolutely. And young weapons like, talk about Wicks, you talk about Matthew Golden. They're going to get an opportunity, albeit it's going to be under fire to really step up after this weekend, right? And the defense, are they going to be able to adapt? And, is Halfley going to be able to come up with some creative schemes, to make up for that missing pass rush from Micah Parsons? I think he probably will. But this is where, resilience and coaching matter the most, right? So,
Now, I also want to say this could be Matt LaFleur's last year.
It could very well could be. He didn't get that contract extension, so he's going to be coaching for his job here on out, right? We talked about that earlier this year, but more so now more than ever, right? He's missing a lot of key players. Can he do it? So we'll see. But some questions for you guys out there. Let us know in the comments. Who do you think steps up if Watson does miss some additional time this year? Is it Matthew Golden?
I don't think he will, but
I'm hoping he's not, right?
Yeah.
And is losing Micah Parsons, is that going to be season defining for the Green Bay Packers? Or can this team really rally and step up with that next man up mentality? And how should the NFL address these injuries, right? How should they address player health? How should they address the schedule, length of schedule, maybe adding some additional bye weeks in there?
Make the season longer, but also add bye weeks.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. So that's what we have for you tonight. Let us know what you think. It's a tough Sunday for Green Bay Packers fans. We feel you. We feel it. We feel a little bit defeated. It's going to be tough to regather and get excited for the remainder of the season, right? There's still a lot of hope for a playoff push. We still have the division within sight, albeit it is going to be much tougher without these key players on the Green Bay Packers roster. So we'll be back with some more. We'll let you know as we hear more from the injury front after today's game for the Green Bay Packers. And we'll start to dive into the Bears week and what we can do to kind of salvage our playoff hopes this weekend in Chicago. And as always, Bryson,
let's go, Pat, go.